Welcome back to my kitchen. So today I really want to talk about rice. A lot of people have a lot of problems cooking rice, getting their rice right. Today we're going to be cooking simple boiled basmati rice, and yeah, there's so many different videos, different instructions by manufacturers. It just gets confusing. Personally, I've honed my techniques over years of experience, and this is my method. So first of all, I will use about a cup of rice for two people, and that's a cup, not a mug. And I will soak it for at least half an hour. Some people even say overnight. I don't think that's necessary, but just get the rice wet. Yeah, so that's been sitting there for about half an hour. And all I do then, you can see the water's gone really cloudy. Let's go over to my sink. And some people use a colander when they're sieving their rice. I would advise against that. When you use a colander, you can't tell when the water's clear. You want to wash your rice. You want to wash your rice so the water's clear. So there you go. Again, it's cloudy. Okay. So we're going to just keep on doing that. Some people say 3 or 4 times. I don't really count. When the water's clear, that's when I know I've got all the excess starch off the rice. And already you can see the water isn't so cloudy. Okay, right, deal with it gently. You don't want to break the rice. This is basmati, it's a very gentle rice. So yeah, you can see that water getting clearer and clearer. Just give it a gentle stir, and there you have it. Water's pretty clear. Sorry about the bad lighting on the video. So now that rice is clean. Okay, it's been soaked for half an hour, it's very wet. It's clean. Okay, so now I'm going to pour quite a lot of water into there. This is the drop method. A lot of people are using the Chinese method where they're using the exact amount of water for the rice, but I don't do that, especially if I'm cooking, I don't know, American rice or normal rice. I will use just enough water. But let's just get that focused. So, okay, and the pan as well. The pan is very important. Use the biggest pan you have. Do not use really like not very wide pans, because you want your rice to have plenty of room. So let's turn that up. Let's put it on the gas. I'm going to put a tiny little bit of salt in. I always find, you know, especially if you're making rice for curries, there's already salt in the curry, so a tiny little bit of rice, and if I can find it. And I'm also going to use, this separates the grains. Bear with me a second, I'll open that. A little bit of lemon juice, just a touch. So, plenty of water, a splash of lemon juice, a little bit of salt. Okay, and what I'm going to do is put that on a high heat, the highest heat the cooker will go, just to get it boiling, and we're going to come back to that shortly. Right, so that's been bubbling away now for a couple of minutes, and I've just heated the rice up so you can see bubbles coming to the top. A lot of people boil it on a vigorous heat. You know, I started off on a high heat just to get the water hot enough. Now I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to turn it down to a minimum. And I forgot to say earlier, I did, obviously, when you put a lid on the rice, the temperature, well, a lid on any pan actually, the temperature increases a lot quicker and it's a lot more efficient. So now I've got my rice hot. it was on the verge of boiling, I'm going to give it a very gentle stir. You don't want to break your rice up. It's basmati, it's the most delicate rice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to boil that, and one thing to note, I do not time this. Don't time it. Every rice has a different timing. You know, if you're using the same rice all the time from the same manufacturer, yes, you can get some experience and time it and say, right, after 6 minutes on that heat it's going to be at such and such a state, but I play it all by eye. There are no timings in this. So that is just about bubbling. You can see just a couple of bubbles come into the top. So a good heat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the lid back on, and I'm going to come and check that every couple of minutes. And as soon as the rice expands, we'll get to that point in a minute and we'll come back to that shortly. Right, I've just come back to this rice. I check it every minute and a half, every minute or so. And what I'm looking for at this point is your rice has been gently simmering with plenty of water on a low heat. And what you'll find, it'll get to a certain point where it expands. Yeah, it's become a lot bigger. And this is why it's important to use a large bowl, the biggest bowl you have, the thickest bowl you have, as that rice has absorbed water nice and gently. It's full of water now. So what I'm going to do, as soon as that happens, it's time to put it into a colander. Right, let me just set this up here. And I've checked my rice. It's just under al dente, so it still has a little bit of resistance, a tiny bit. But what people need to realise is, okay, that your rice is still cooking. It's still steaming. It's still very hot. What I'll do, just drain the excess water off, and I will put it back on the pan. Back there, already you can see very separate grains. We'll come into that in a moment, and I'm just going to let that sit there now. And what I'm looking for is the rice to curl up. I'm going to give the rice the larger surface area as possible. You want to try and get your rice exposed to the air. Right, okay, that's about it. And I'm going to leave that sit there now. There's no heat on or anything like that. And I'm just going to look for it. When it starts to dry out slightly, it'll curl up. And that's what we're looking for, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Right, I've left that for about 5 minutes. It's curled up and it's perfectly cooked. It's cooled down a bit. You don't even need to stir it or fork it up and puff it up with a fork, because it's really, really separate. And let me transfer that to a bowl now, and we'll have a close-up on that. It's perfect, just like that. No need to fork it up. Look at that, individual. Everything's individually separated. Let's zoom in. Right, so perfect basmati rice. Any questions? Like and share. Okay, hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you'll benefit from this video.